It's a big club and you ain't in it. Guess who said that one? Comedian George Carlin. I don't agree with a lot of what George Carlin says, but that quote is appropriate. Now let's talk about the scandal that came out last week about the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank president using his inside information to do massive amounts of stock trades. We got more information out from Hedge Eye's sources that the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank president was making enormous stock trades, hedge fund size stock trades, 27 or more stock trades of $1 million in size using S&P 500 futures contracts and other trades to make massive profits on inside information that he is not supposed to be making. Now, recently, after the scandal broke, he said that in the name of transparency, in the name of ethics and transparency now, I will sell all my stocks, wink, wink, nod, nod. You literally cannot make this stuff up. No one's going to go to prison. He probably will not even be fined, unfortunately. He's probably also signaling, if the Fed does actually try to taper and it's not just a bluff, that the Fed's going to allow a stock market crash, or at least a large correction, in the not too distant future. Now, unfortunately, the entire system here in DC is corrupt, and it just keeps getting more and more and more corrupt. Many people here in the DC metro area, this includes politicians in both parties and their family members. Remember, over the last couple months, Nancy Pelosi's husband got in trouble for trading on inside information with stock options, with technology stocks, congressional aides. So these are employees of people in different congressional offices, government employees in different federal agencies, lobbyists, and others trade on inside information on stocks. So for certain government agencies, there are forms saying that you cannot trade stocks in the industry that you're supposed to regulate. However, with the inside information, government employees can easily trade that information to other government employees or to other people who can then put on the stock trades. Unfortunately, this is pervasive. There is such things as financial disclosure forms where people in Congress who are making, say, around $174,000 a year in salary claim that they're not making any insider trades, that they're not using any security clearance information for stock trades, or that they're not taking advantage of any of the many available opportunities for real estate deals on inside information here with rezoning laws. There's a ton of gentrification zoning deals with real estate available here too, where a lot of people in Congress, if they're willing to play ball with the right lobbyists or the right corporations or the right special interest groups, and they're very, very corrupt, and they're willing to do deals, and it gets around here very quickly, they can go from a very low net worth in 10 years or less, sometimes even 5 years or less. If they have a lot of corruption and a lot of political connections like AOC, they can go to being worth $10 million or more very, very quickly. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that are getting either rich or richer here in the DC metro area are enormous hypocrites. A lot of these people are champagne socialists. A lot of these people have made public comments that they hate capitalism, and yet with their actual behavior and actions versus their false narrative words, they're making enormous amounts of extra money on stock trades and real estate deals on privileged inside information, taking advantage of their top secret security clearances or friends that are trading information to them. This is pervasive here in the DC metro area. I have a best friend who is a successful real estate agent in the area, and there are a lot of federal government employees, thousands of them, where these federal government employees have a wife and children, so they have a lot of bills to pay, and yet these people claim to be worth tens of millions of dollars and are looking to buy their fifth or sixth or more luxury condo in the area or a very expensive single-family home. They're trading up all the time for more expensive real estate. They're buying new real estate investments. It is extremely pervasive here. So there are a lot of federal government employees that their official salary is only between like $80,000 a year and $180,000 a year, and yet their net worths are many millions of dollars, A good portion of them, thousands of them now, are worth tens of millions of dollars. Some of them, at least what they're disclosing to their real estate agent when they're trying to buy a lot more property, are disclosing that they're worth over $100 million. And these are not people that inherited money. These are not people that married rich. They've worked the system. They figured out the loopholes. They figured out how to get rich from corruption. And this is pervasive here in the DC metro area. So there are lots of hypocrites and champagne socialists and people publicly that bash capitalism while they're getting rich on inside information on stock trades or real estate deals where they're buying land or helping a real estate developer buy land for pennies on the dollar that will then be rezoned into luxury condos. Gentrification happens in a lot of places, but it's especially happening here in the DC metro area in many neighborhoods. And that's how a lot of people get rich quick here. And unfortunately, almost no one will go to prison and almost no one will be fined. There are tons of government employees raping and pillaging the system. Same thing goes for people in Congress. A lot of it has to do with how government is too big and how government has too much control of the economy, and government spending is considered beneficial for GDP. So you have all these large corporations and all these special interest groups with things like the Green New Deal, where these corrupt green energy companies that don't have a viable business or product know if they spend the right amount of lobbying or give the right amount of bribes to the right politician that they can get a government contract and get rich quick before the company is revealed as a scam. So unfortunately, the Dallas Federal Reserve president will not be going to prison. I doubt he even gets fined. And this behavior is pervasive among government employees. Even hedge fund billionaire Stevie Cohen was caught in a scandal a number of years ago. He was paying for inside information from FDA employees for which drugs would get approved ahead of time. And obviously he didn't go to prison. He's the owner of the New York Mets now. So I think he just paid a fine. The entire system is so corrupt. And I could go on and on and on, but I won't. I'm going to keep this video relatively short. But for those of you who think that this system is not corrupt, you are incredibly naive. For those of you who think that government is transparent, you are incredibly naive. These financial disclosure forms that these politicians are filling out, claiming that they're only making $170,000 a year. Meanwhile, many of them are making millions of dollars in a lot of side deals off the books. That is the reality of the system. The reality of the system is unbelievable amounts of corruption. And I've been here in the DC metro area for over 20 years now, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And the system will run its course until the dollar loses world reserve currency status, and there's not trillions in excess currency that can be stolen or to paper over things like the Pentagon routinely failing audits. Finally, if you like content like this and want to help keep content like this free so it doesn't all end up behind a paywall, or you want far more in-depth content research, financial education, and analysis, and I provide in these short little free videos, there are now 29 new articles out in the last 13 or so weeks, all for the cost of a Starbucks cup of coffee, only $5 a month, including a lot of interesting topics on global macro, companies, and sectors. There's a new uranium article out in the last week or two, and a lot of interesting updates about gold miners, silver miners, precious metal royalty and streaming companies, which gold miners are doing a good job controlling their costs, which ones, despite the paper gold price doing nothing, are increasing their dividend. So there are a lot of income opportunities in the gold sector if you know where to look. There are now over 180 articles, charts, and audio podcasts exclusive for patrons. I think it is one of the best deals out there because I'm only charging $5 a month. So if I could wrap up this short little video very quickly, this is just another egregious example of corruption. No one's going to prison. He probably won't even be fined. This is truly a scumbag here. He is former Goldman Sachs. He is a former Harvard professor. He's friends with Larry Summers, who is friends with Jeffrey Epstein. I won't go into it anymore because I don't want the video banned. But the level of corruption here in the DC metro area and by government officials, there is no transparency. There is no integrity. And the system is all about raping and pillaging and getting rich quick. And then capitalism gets blamed while the hypocrites in power here in the DC metro area are all getting rich or richer.